Well, it's January 22nd, 2021. It's 21:22. So, I don't know, it's 22:21. So this cable broke last winter, never got fixed, so that's got to be done this winter. That's to rotate that chute. This will be the first time I use a snowblower this year. I'm going to put it on there today, and it was stored on some grass. It was frozen to the ground there last night. I went over there with the forklift and I managed to get it out of there. It should have been put on a pallet or something. Next spring I'll put it on a pallet. What I do is weld a, instead of changing the cutting edge, which are useless on these things, they lay flat. There's the cutting edge right there, which I put a new one on years ago. It's a piece of flat bar. I think the original one from KUBOTA don't make this. It's made by another company. I know the name, I just can't think of it right now. So it lays flat. It's maybe it's 1/4 inch by 2 inch flat bar. I don't think it's even hardened, and it's got these square holes so you can put these carriage bolts in there. And anyway, I got that one welded on. I think it's got some bolts. I just weld a piece of 3/4 by 3/4 square stuff here, square stock, and when I can back drag with that a little bit because it's got a bit of an edge when you back up. So you can see this thing's flipped upright right now. I had to get the ice out of this rectangular tube. I got to put the dry shaft in, and then this was covered in grass, frozen on there. So poured hot water on there. That's the best way to do it. You can't use the torch on this. This is plastic, so you have to use hot water on that part. We're gonna get the grease gun, grease that U-joint in there, grease the other U-joint. We got to oil the chain, and then yeah, so I'm gonna smear some grease in here and maybe some oil. Maybe run a rag through there. It's full of dirt in there. Yeah, that's full of soil or something. I don't know. That's old grease. So we'll get something, clean that out. I have to check the gear oil in the front gearbox down there. You can see the bottom of it there. That gearbox runs dry. There's a brass gear in there. It's a worm gear, and that's probably more than what the snowblower is worth to replace that brass gear, unless you can find one somewhere. But if you buy it from the actual dealer, Kubota dealer, you probably buy a used snowblower like this and for less money, if you can find one. They're hard to find. So, and then the chain, of course, you gotta get in there and oil that chain. This is old. This is in like a late 80s model, 87 maybe, 88. Yeah, I've got another one of these. It's right in this shed. It's almost identical, pretty much identical snowblower, but it's got a gearbox with bathed in gear oil. So I think that's a way better setup. That's really expensive for that gearbox, but you just check the gear oil, and there's no chain can't break or anything. I think it's just gears that mesh together. It actually runs backwards, a snowblower, so you've got to have a gear driving another gear to get it to spin the opposite way. The way that chain is set up, the sprocket that drives it is on the outside of the chain, and then the sprocket that turns the snowblower is on the inside of the chain. That way you get your reverse direction, and then you've got hydraulic rotation. I've got it off right now. It sticks way back here. The first models that came out like this, that motor is like out there, that hydraulic motor. It's really close to the windshield. So the newer ones, I think, they're sitting above there or something. I'm not sure. I forget now. So you got clearance issues with these little machines. And then it's got the more modern quick hitch, what they call it. I don't call it a quick hitch. It's quick in the summer. In the winter, it's the slow hitch. It's full of ice in there, and all the dirt and salt, and it rusts like crazy in there. So it may be a good idea in California or Florida or something, maybe Texas sometimes. But in Canada, it's a slow hitch. It's not a quick hitch. And yeah, so we're not going to use this one this winter. My son asked me last night, why aren't we using this one? I said, well, you know, this one I might end up selling, but I'm not sure. We have to talk about it. It's old. It works great though. You know, can't really complain too much about it. We've had it since 1996, so it's 25 years this year. and it gets a lot of use. It was our main sidewalk machine, so we don't have that big site with the sidewalks anymore, so we don't need it at the moment. So we have 3 of these snowblowers. I have 2, that model there in the dark there, you can't see it, but and then we have this old antique. It really is an antique. I had a guy operating it one winter, and he hit a curb so hard that it bent these receivers way down about, I don't know, a couple of inches, 1.5 inches, 2 inches. Enough that when you lifted it off the ground, this cutting edge was literally 1 inch off the pavement. We couldn't have it like that, so it had to be pulled off the machine, brought back to the shop, and there's no way to fix this. The only way I could fix it was cut it right here with a cutting disc, bend it up, and I might have cut the top. I forget how I did it. It's been done twice now. It's been done here and here. The next time it's done, I'm probably going to cut these bars right off and make new ones, or go to that new style of way of mounting it, which I think you can bend that too. You can bend anything if you hit something hard enough. So I think he ran into one of those cement curbs, or I told him, drive it slow, it's old, so don't be hard on it. It came back broken. So, what do? You can't run every machine yourself, but then you can't pay guys to go and break stuff, so you can't stay in business if everything's broken. We went through a couple of years of construction on that site and destroyed everything we had. So this is turning into a bit of a snowplow rant, but it's hard. I think snow removal is harder on equipment than anything else you can do. A lot of guys, oh yeah, there's no dust, there's no dirt in the winter, and engines never get hot. Well, you know what? The machines work harder in the winter pushing snow. People think snow is easy to do. It's not easy. You need all kinds of horsepower. Even all the horsepower in the world, if you don't have traction, you got nothing. So, but this little machine here, it's going to go on that tractor right there. Little Kubota F2400. So it's a 1987 or 88 F2400. It's in really good shape, for the hours it's got on it. I plugged it in last night. Little 3-cylinder liquid cooled diesel. Needs a good pressure washing. Anyway, I blow it out with the compressor, so it's clean, and the air filter's clean. But yeah, liquid cooled diesel with hydrostatic transmission in there, and 4-wheel drive. There's your gear driven 4-wheel drive mechanism. I got a video I did a video a few years ago on how to change the gear oil in those things. It's really got to be done. Got to do it. You got to check it all the time. And then inside here, I use the forks. These little forks I made in 1998 for a contract. We planted trees. We had 150 trees, and they weighed from 200 to 500 pounds root ball. So I made that in one night, and then we used that to move the trees. So last night I was using this. I had a chain. I dragged a mower deck out of the snow before it got too buried that I couldn't get at it anymore. That's what happens in this country. Things get buried in snow. We got 5,258 hours right there on this tractor. And yeah, there's the light switch. The headlight's not working on it at the moment. I think the bulb burnt out in here, which is okay because you can't really use that headlight with the cab on there. It just reflects off the windshield. But you got your lights on your gauges work off that switch. And then you got your 2 little hydraulic aftermarket controls here for the snowblower. One rotates the chute, one the deflector. I changed one of the hoses last summer. I found out, right after I bought the 2 new hoses, that the third hose is leaking. Down here you can see it's wet with oil. So I can't use this lever here at all until I get a new hose. So that'll be good. I'll get that pretty soon. It's not that big a deal. It's easy to do that. So what else? Yeah, I keep these shear bolts in here all year long. There's 1/4 inch by 1 inch, and you got 5/16 for the 2 shear bolts that snowblower takes. Both of those snowblowers take the same shear bolts. So the 5/16 go on the auger in front, and then the little 1/4 inch go on the impeller. I call it the impeller. I don't know if it's actual blower. It's what blows the snow. Yeah. So we're gonna. We lost a pin last summer, so I got some sort of I don't even know if it's in there. It looks like it is. I taped in a bolt, I think. I'm gonna make a new pin for it on the lathe. They're metric. There's some size you can't buy, so that's what it's supposed to look like. That pin on the other side. They're not expensive. I think they're $25 for one of those pins. But what happens is the little clip falls out, and then your pin falls out and you lose it. And they're really hard. I know where I lost it driving on the driveway here on the road. And I went back and forth looking for it over the next couple of days, and I never found it. So I don't know where it went. I plugged this in last night. It should be warm. This little machine here, you could, yeah, if your hands got cold, you could warm your hand up on there. That engine block is toasty warm. These things they will not start in the cold. These little diesel engines. Maybe if you put synthetic oil in and you had a really good battery, turn the glow plugs on, but you're better off, if you can, just to plug it in all winter. It starts better in the winter than it does in the summer because it's plugged in and the motor's hot. Everything's hot. Usually I cover that with a sheet of plastic. I take a piece of plastic, fit it in around the engine and down in front of the rad there, and close the hood. And I mean, it's toasty in there. It's probably 75 degrees Fahrenheit in there, 25 degrees Celsius. So yeah, what else are we gonna do? We got a little heater in here. Got all your controls up here, switches. So I got my oil change. I think it's due for an oil change. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's due for sure. I gotta check the filter. Maybe I did change it. I got headlights, rear lights. You got your signal lights, and then your wicked noisy fan, and then you got a little dome light too. Isn't that cool? And everything works. And I used to have a radio that worked off these earmuff things. It hasn't worked in years. There's the speakers, but I just use these radio earmuffs. A way easier. You can get in and out, and you can still keep them on. You're not tied to the machine. Anyway, power steering, hydrostatic controls. You got your this one has a clutch. The newer F series don't have clutches anymore. They have a hydraulic PTO. So your lever, you can there's no disengaging the clutch before you engage your PTO. This one has a 2-speed PTO. So you got 2,500 RPMs and 1,100. So this snowblower runs at 1,100. You can't run it at the other snowblower I showed you with the gearbox runs at 2,500 because the newer F series, they don't have this 1,100 RPM speed. They just got the fast speed. So something you got to think about. But this one, I have a sweeper for it, and you can run the sweeper at 1,100 RPMs. Way easier on your brushes. You don't wear out your brushes as quick, and it does just as good a job. You can't tell a difference. So it's good having those 2 speeds. And oh yeah, when I'm cutting grass, sometimes I run at 1,100. If I'm going in a spot, I don't know if there's rocks or there's chunks of steel. You got long grass there and you've never been in there before. I run at 1,100, go through slowly, and if I hit something, it's only running at a slow speed, so way easier. So there's a little bit about the Kubota F2400 5,000. No, it was changed 5176, so we're good for a little short time there. Yeah, anyway, that's my story with this little machine. And we've got enough snow that I got some snow blowing to do. Details, they can get in. I got the pickup truck, I got the backhoe, but you know what? This little thing here can go in spots nothing else can go in. So maybe I'll hook the snowblower up and we'll do a little blowing. Otherwise, thanks for watching.